and Eric Allen here at the Atlantic Health Jets Training Center. And from both of us here, we'd like to wish you a happy Halloween. EA, I would like to know the last time you dressed up for Halloween and what it was you dressed up as.
That's a good question, and I'm not prepared for an answer right now. I'd have to go back to my childhood, though. There was a running back for the Los Angeles Raiders at the time by the name of Marcus Allen. Since my last name was Allen, I'd go out as Marcus Allen. My dad bought me an old Raiders helmet. But today, if I go out later, I'm going to go out as the Intercontinental Champ. Because Roddy Piper was one of my favorites growing up. Loved him. And if you want to watch good studio TV or segments, watch Piper's Pit.
All right, I like that a lot.
Oh, well, Liv, I got a question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
What are your favorite 5 candies? You might want to write that down, and we'll come back to it later. I'll give you some time.
Top 5 favorite candies.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to think about it. We're going to come back to it at the end of the show. But right now, I'd like to start off by talking about yesterday was officially the trade deadline, and the Jets didn't make any moves, although there are some needs on the team. General Manager Mike Maccagnan has talked about how he wants to build this team through the draft.
Yeah, he does want to build this team through the draft. And when you look at yesterday, what happened at the trade deadline, there are a lot of teams who picked up guys on expiring contracts, maybe guys who made a lot of money, who were older, teams who are going for it, such as the LA Rams. I know a lot of Jets fans were interested in Dante Fowler. Well, the Rams are undefeated right now. They're most likely going to be in the playoffs and competing for a championship. The Jets right now are 3-5, and the Rams gave up a 3rd and a 5th round draft pick in order to secure the edge pass rusher. He might be a free agent come April. Mike Maccagnan does not want to sacrifice the future for the now. That is the proper play for this team as we move forward, as the Jets move forward in 2018. Again, some of these guys that we saw moved yesterday. Golden Tate, he's 32 years old. He's going to help the Philadelphia Eagles out, but he is 32 years old. Demaryius Thomas, he's 30 years old. He's also going to be making like $14 million next year.
It's a lot.
Yes, it is a lot of money. And again, some of these guys are coming off the books in the spring. So I'm sure Mike Maccagnan worked the phones, and he's going to speak to the media here tomorrow on Florham Park, so we'll get a better idea what happened at the trade deadline. But should be no surprise. The Jets want to build this thing through the draft, and at 3-5, it's not like they're 5-3 or 6-2, where maybe you get a piece or a second piece and it puts you over the top. You got to build this thing for the long term while trying to win each and every week.
Looking forward to what Mike Maccagnan has to say later in the week, but it's officially the midway point of the season. As you said, the Jets are now 3-5. I'm sure not necessarily where they want to be. Something interesting is this is the 3rd year in a row that they were actually at 3-5 at this point in the season. It
feels completely different, though, and Todd Bowles said it after the game in Chicago, but from a macro level, from a 40,000-foot perspective, when you look down at the Jets in 2016, Ryan Fitzpatrick was this team's quarterback, and they ended up going 3-9. Not only were they 3-5, but they went 3-9, and they finished up 5-11. Last year, Josh McCown came in the offseason, had a career year under Jeremy Bates, but he was a 38-year-old quarterback at that time, so you didn't know what was going to happen in the future. The Jets had a couple players in Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg who really weren't able to get over the hump here with the green and white. So you had a lot of unknowns entering both those off seasons. Now, in 2018, why does this feel different? Because you have a 21-year-old passer that a lot of people in the National Football League, not just here in Florham Park, are very high on in Sam Darnold. You made a move to get Darnold, and you're thinking he is the quarterback of this team for the future. I mentioned the financial flexibility the Jets have this spring. They can add some pieces around him. That is definitely going to happen. But in 16 and 17, you had so many quarterback questions, you didn't know where the Jets were going to go. Mike Maccagnan was very aggressive in this offseason. They bring Sam Darnold into the fold, and now he's making his 9th consecutive start. This guy could be the quarterback here for a long time. And Liv, you talked to one of his biggest admirers over the weekend, and that's CBS's Tony Romo.
I did talk to him. Actually, we talked this past Saturday right before the Jets and Bears game, and he mentioned how he's still just as impressed with Sam Darnold as he was at the beginning of the season, because I said, all right, he's halfway through his first professional season. How would you assess him as a quarterback now? And he said the exact same way. His ceiling is very, very high. So Tony Romo has a lot of great things to say about Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and I just want to jump off that too, Liv, is that was a good interview. Another thing is he's anticipating a monster leap from Sam Darnold, whether it is in the second half of this season or maybe that second season when you have a full off season under your belt. So Romo has been high on him for a long time. And actually there have been a lot of people who've compared Darnold to Romo because of his ability to improvise and his ability to get outside the pocket. And we've seen him do that here early in his career.
So besides Tony Romo's take, how would you say Sam Darnold has grown from week 1 all the way up until week 8? How would you assess his play so far?
Well, against the Chicago Bears, the Jets didn't get a lot going offensively. They only scored 10 points, but he did not have the killer mistakes. And the Jets didn't really have a run game to balance out the passing game against the Bears. And his numbers weren't great, and they don't overwhelm you, 55% so far this season with 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. But he's learning from each experience he has. And again, he has the ability to get you out of bad plays when protection breaks down, when guys might miss their assignments. He is very good feet, and I've been impressed with his vision. He's a knack for finding the open receiver. The Jets right now dealing with a lot of injuries offensively. Now, he's a young quarterback. You take a veteran quarterback. Veteran quarterback's probably going to struggle out here right now without guys like Quincy Enunwa at his disposal. Robbie Anderson was out last week. We'll have to monitor his progress throughout the week. Maybe he'll be back in the lineup. And Bilal Powell was one of this team's top offensive weapons. He's out of the lineup as well. And, oh, by the way, Darnold's center, Spencer Long, he was out as well. So the thing that I've been impressed with most is that he's not making the killer mistakes, even though everything is changing around him, and he continues to be a flatliner, and he is he's a student of the game. He loves the game, wants to talk ball, and he just wants to get better at it.
Well, looking forward to see how Sam Darnold grows throughout the rest of this season. But earlier in the week, head coach Todd Bowles was asked what his team is like and where his team is at the midway point of the season. Let's hear what he had to say.
Todd, big picture, through 8 games, how would you evaluate where the team is at?
I mean, we're 3-5. Mentally, we're in a good place. Just got to correct some things on both sides of the ball. And we're fighting hard, and I think we can get them corrected.
Do you feel like the team is getting better from the beginning of the season to now? Do you feel like you've gotten better?
Well, anytime you don't win ball games, you don't see that on record, but I feel like we're closer from a chemistry standpoint and camaraderie standpoint. We just got to make some plays.
Welcome back to Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. We just heard head coach Todd Bowles talking about the chemistry of this team and how it's getting there. They just need to continue making plays. And we also talked about Sam Darnold and the offensive side of the ball. But now let's jump to the defensive side of the ball. They got off to a hot start, but it seems like they're starting to slow down a little bit.
Well, it's kind of been a mixed bag the last couple weeks. The defense gave the Jets an opportunity to win not only against the Bears, but against the Minnesota Vikings. And against the Bears, I thought they were very good in the first half, and they continue to get off the field on third down. The one thing you want to see from the Jets is you want to see them slam the door. Like they had the opportunity to get back in that game after Sam Darnold threw a scoring pass to Chris Herndon and made it 17-10. At that point, the Bears went right down the field. There were a couple times, too, they broke in the second half. What we saw early in the season that was very encouraging for the Jets is that they had a lot of takeaways. Those takeaways have went away the last couple weeks. So if the Jets can get a few of those or a couple of those against the Miami Dolphins, that would go a long way towards winning. And the Jets could get some more reinforcements back this week, as Tremaine Johnson looks like he's nearing a return. He's been dealing with that quad injury. And remember, Buster Screen came back in the lineup last week, as did Marcus May as well.
Yeah, so a lot of injuries that, have been detrimental to the defense as well as the offense. So defense obviously needing to finish the second half after they're starting off hot. But now I want to talk about who you have taking off for the Miami and Jets game this coming Sunday. I know you have a few of them. Who would you like to start off with?
Well, I only got a couple. I'm going with Marcus May because Marcus May, dealing with that thumb injury, was all bandaged up against the Chicago Bears, and he went out and led the team in tackles, and that shows his toughness, his grittiness. And this is the safety tandem in Jamal Adams and Marcus May, who are going to be back there in the defensive backfield for years to come. It was very good for May to get back on the field, and that shows his want to, too, because a lot of guys, they might have said, hey, listen, I need another week, but he bandaged that up. He came out there, and he was aggressive. So Marcus May, he's one to watch. Again, he went to the University of Florida, so he'll be back. He'll be happy going back down to Florida this week. And then honorable mention, how about Jason Myers? 18 and 19 on the year in terms of his field goal attempts, and he is third in the National Football League in scoring.
All right, so Marcus May is back up in the lineup. A few other injuries and some players that we might be expecting to see in Week 9. One player I would like to mention is Elijah McGuire. He is eligible to return from injured reserve in Week 9, and he's actually been practicing the past couple of weeks with the team, trying to get back into it. Do we expect to see him in Week 9, and how can he contribute to the offense?
Well, we'll have to see because, like you said, he is eligible to return. But if Eli McGuire comes back, he is a guy that you should circle on your television screen. I don't know if you actually can do that. It might ruin your TV, so maybe you shouldn't do it.
Don't do that.
But 2-5 had a very impressive spring, and then he got hurt on the first day of training camp, Eli McGuire. But the Jets love what they saw out of him throughout the spring. This is his second year. Great value in the draft, that prior draft, getting Eli McGuire out of Louisiana Lafayette in the 6th round. The Jets brought up D'Angelo Henderson from the practice squad last week in that emergency case because you needed a third running back, but now you could have Isaiah Crowell, Trenton Cannon, who's been getting some run at the running back position, and then they aforementioned Eli McGuire.
All right, so hopefully to see Eli McGuire back in the lineup in Week 9. Now let's move to the draft class. Obviously, the Jets acquired some very solid players this past draft in April, and we've seen some of these players get some significant playing time. How would you assess this draft class so far?
Well, make no mistake, the Jets' 2018 draft class is going to be graded on one player. What happens with Sam Darnold? But you build your team through the draft. So what Mike McCagnon did here is he came back in the 3rd round and he drafted Nathan Shepard. He has been a starter up front along that defensive line. He hasn't made too many splash plays, but he's been dependable for the Jets in that defensive line rotation. Then move back to the 6th round and see the value there you got in getting Trenton Cannon, who we mentioned before. He leads this team in special teams tackles, and he's also shown some flash as a receiver out of the backfield. Perry Nickerson filled in for Buster Skrine when Skrine was down with the concussion and got his feet wet in the National Football League. And how about the value McCagnon found in the 7th round, trading a pick to Indianapolis in return for a guy who started in this league, in Henry Anderson, and he's brought some juice, motor up front to the defensive line, playing in sub situations. But finally, let's talk about Chris Herndon. 4th round pick out of Miami. Kind of a slow start because he got injured last November for Miami, the Hurricanes against the Pittsburgh Panthers, and his collegiate career was ended. So the Jets took it easy on him in the spring, worked cautiously throughout the spring. Now he's really getting up to speed, and he has scored a touchdown in 3 consecutive games. That is the first time a Jets rookie tight end has done that. Sam Darnold and Herndon really have a nice chemistry going.
Yeah, you can definitely see the chemistry between those two on the field. And you actually had tight end Chris Herndon on Inside the Jets this past Monday, and he talked about what it was like to room with Sam Darnold during the spring.
When we first moved in, we didn't really say much to each other. We just knew we were teammates, and we kind of just gelled easily, though. We didn't talk much. We weren't very talkative guys, but, we both very studious. And, after practice, after rookie camp, we'd come in and both get in our playbooks. And if I had a question, obviously he's the quarterback, so I went right to him, and he was, more than happy to help me with anything that I needed.
Good to hear from tight end Chris Herndon talking about Sam Darnold. And it's obvious. You can see their chemistry on the field. Like you said, 3 consecutive games where Chris Herndon has scored a touchdown. Now let's move forward, looking ahead to the rest of the season. The Jets are now entering what will be most of their divisional play. This is the second time this season they'll be seeing the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, the guys out here are getting ready for practice, so you might hear some machinery, and that's all part of the deal. We are live out here at One Jets Drive. Yeah, second half of the season, AFC East flavor, because you're going to Miami, the return matchup again. You open up at home against the Dolphins in week 2, so this will be the first time in Sam Darnold's career where he has seen a team twice. Then you come back and you face a Buffalo Bills team who has been scuffling offensively. I think it's 4 games this year for the Bills where they scored 7 points or less. They're going back to Nathan Peterman this week. They did add former Jets receiver Terrell Pryor. Then the Jets will get a bye and host the New England Patriots. One thing to note there is not only do the Jets have a bye, but the Patriots do have a bye prior to that game, so both teams will be well rested and ready to go. And then down the stretch, those last 3 games, that's going to be very difficult. The Texans have really come on of late, winning 5 games in a row after starting the season 0-3. Aaron Rodgers comes to town, which I expect MetLife Stadium to be crazy that day right before Christmas, and then you end up the season again with the Patriots.
Something that has been difficult for the Jets these past 2 seasons is winning on the road. They're actually 2 of 10 on the road since the beginning of the 2017 season. What are going to be some of the keys of winning on the road?
You got to play complementary football. We saw that against the Detroit Lions. You know, Andre Roberts took one to the house. The defense had a number of takeaways in that game, and the Jets had balance offensively. They were able to sustain a running game and win on early downs. Sam Darnold keeps on talking about that. Is offensively, we have to win on early downs. You can't be in 3rd and long in the National Football League, much less with the rookie quarterback and so many moving pieces around you. But for the Jets, they're playing a Dolphins team this week who is finding themselves as well. Remember, the Dolphins, the last time we saw them, they gave up 5 touchdowns to Deshaun Watson, and he carved up that Dolphins secondary. The Dolphins, after starting out 3-0, they've lost 4 of 5. I think both teams are desperate for a victory, but the Jets have to find that football where complementary. Defense is taking the ball away. You're getting some good plays on special teams. You're changing the field, and offensively, you're getting some balance.
So Jets versus Dolphins this Sunday. The Jets are already in prep for that game. Week 9. I can't believe it's already week 9. That's all we have for you today on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM.
What about your top 5? What about your top 5 candies?
I was going to go there. Before we go, I have to give EA my top 5 candies. I know team reporter Ethan Greenberg is going to give me some crap about this, but my number 1 is still going to be Fruity Mentos. And those are not mints, people. Fruity Mentos are chewy. They're a candy. Number 2 is probably
I'm going to write this down because
Starburst.
I have some analysis coming up.
Number
okay?
2 is probably Starburst. Number 3 is Skittles. I don't know if this counts, but I really love Twix. And then Reese's. I believe that's 5, right? I think I just gave you 5. That's my top 5 candy. I hope you're all writing that down. If you'd like to send me any candy anytime soon, would really appreciate it.
Fruity Mentos, is that considered a candy?
Yes, it is.
The crew,
I will have this debate all
Chris
day.
Ubbins,
all day.
Frank the Tank, Mike Kenny's out here with the thumbs down. How about Bree?
Send me a tweet if you agree with me.
Bree says no as well. The bees are even mad because they're flying
they're
around
all
here.
over the place.
But again, if you're going out trick-or-treating today, you might want to bring out the belt because this is a tribute to the man, Roddy Piper, the original Roddy.
All right, if you all are going trick-or-treating or just celebrating Halloween,
Reese's Pieces peanut butter cups got to be up there in the top 3 of anybody's list on candies.
It's top 5. All right, so that's all we have for you today on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. EA would like to say something else about the pumpkin.
Did a couple players do some carving?
They did, but before we head to that, I would just like to plug in that and let you all know that Practice Today will also be this Friday. Team reporter Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen. You can catch that at 10:15 a.m. And before we go, we're going to leave you with a special treat with rookie defensive lineman Lorenzo Fatukasi and Nathan Shepard. We're carving some pumpkins.
All right, let's do this. There we go. I'm nice. Look at that. Look at the precision, bro.
This is my first time carving a pumpkin. And you know what? I think I'm doing a pretty swell job.
That's not too bad, actually.
Not too good either.
Push it in.
Actually, that does look pretty good.
I'm telling you.
That actually does look pretty good. You've inspired me. I'm gonna try and do a better job now.
That's nice.
I might think about teaching a class next Halloween. 1, 2, 3. Happy Halloween.